A nearly 40-year-old man just made one of the most feared defensive lines in the entire NFL even more terrifying, and most people have absolutely no idea how dominant this move actually is. Please like and subscribe before dive into the news. The return nobody saw coming. Let's be real for a second. When you hear that a defensive lineman is about to turn 40 years old and is heading into his 19th year in the NFL, your first reaction is probably something like, okay, cool, a feel-good retirement tour. A guy chasing one last paycheck before he rides off into the sunset. That is the logical, reasonable, completely normal thing to think. But here is the thing. Calais Campbell is not a normal human being. This man just finished his 18th NFL season at 39 years old and put up numbers that would embarrass players 10 years younger than him. 43 tackles. 9 tackles for loss. 6.5 sacks. 16 quarterback hits. And if that is not enough to blow your mind, he posted the third best pass rush win rate from the interior among all defensive linemen in the entire National Football League. Not third best for his age group. Third best. Period. In the whole league. So yeah, when the Baltimore Ravens officially brought Calais Campbell back on a one-year deal, this was not some sentimental nostalgia signing. This was a calculated, aggressive, football move. And it might be the smartest thing Baltimore has done this entire offseason. Can you name another player almost 40 years old playing at an all-pro level? Because I genuinely cannot. The numbers don't lie. Baltimore's defense was a disaster. Now here is where the story gets really interesting. Because to truly understand why this signing is so massive, you need to understand just how bad the Ravens' defensive line was last season. And I mean bad in a way that physically hurt to watch. 30 sacks on the entire year. That ranked them 28th in the NFL. Their pass rush win rate sat at 30%. Also 28th in the league. Quarterback pressures. 22nd pressure rate. 29th time to throw allowed. 25th. Every single number pointed to the same brutal truth. Baltimore could not get to the quarterback. And in the NFL, if you cannot get to the quarterback, you cannot win. It is that simple. Think about what that cost them. In the playoff loss against the Buffalo Bills, the Ravens generated almost zero pressure on Josh Allen. Josh Allen had all day to throw. James Cook ran wild. And Baltimore went home early. You sit there and wonder, what happens in that game if Campbell is on that defensive line? Does the result change? Does Lamar Jackson get another shot at a Super Bowl run? We will never know. But Baltimore is making sure that question does not haunt them again in 2026. Who's the biggest reason Baltimore's defense collapsed last season? Drop a name in the comments right now. The new-look defensive line is absolutely insane, okay? So let us talk about what this defensive line actually looks like now, because when you line it all up together, it is genuinely frightening for every offensive lineman in the NFC and AFC. You have Trey Hendrickson coming in as one of the most dangerous edge rushers in football. You have Nnamdi Madubuike anchoring the interior. Travis Jones, who the Ravens just extended, brings the youth and the power. And now you add Calais Campbell back into that mix, a player who knows this system, knows this city, and has already proven he can still dominate at the highest level. Then on top of all that, you have Mike Green entering year 2 of his development, a young pass rusher named Zion Young coming in from the draft, and Tavius Robinson adding depth. And all of these pieces are now being coached by Jesse Minter, a defensive mastermind who is essentially a direct disciple of Mike Macdonald, the same coach who built the Ravens' defense that led the entire NFL in sacks back in 2023. That 2023 Ravens defense was an absolute monster. People forget that team was genuinely terrifying. Now that same defensive DNA is back in Baltimore, with better personnel than last year by a massive margin. From Kyle Van Noy and John Jenkins to Trey Hendrickson and Calais Campbell. That is not a small upgrade. That is a complete and total transformation. But wait until you hear the behind-the-scenes detail about how this deal actually came together, because it reveals something very smart that the Ravens were quietly doing the entire time. The secret plan Baltimore had all along here is something that flew completely under the radar during the NFL draft. Ravens fans were frustrated, rightfully so, that Baltimore did not address the defensive tackle position until the very late rounds of the draft. They grabbed Ryan Benny in the 7th round, which is fine, but for a position of major need, that felt like a massive miss. Everybody was confused. The defensive interior was clearly broken. The stats proved it. The playoff exit proved it. So why were the Ravens not throwing draft capital at fixing it? Because they already knew Calais Campbell was coming back. Think about that for a second. While fans were frustrated on draft day, Baltimore's front office was sitting there completely calm because they had already been working on this deal behind the scenes. They did not need to reach for a defensive tackle early in the draft because the plan was already in motion. They attacked the draft exactly the way they wanted to, and Campbell was always part of the equation. And the financial side of this makes it even better. According to reports, this deal is expected to land somewhere around 1 year and $5.5 million, very similar to what Campbell made with the Arizona Cardinals last season. For a player who just had a top 3 pass rush win rate in the entire league, that is an absolute bargain. Baltimore gets elite interior disruption without breaking the bank. Campbell gets to chase a championship on a team built to compete right now. Everybody wins. It is also worth mentioning that Baltimore reportedly had a trade lined up for Campbell at the end of the 2024 season when he was still with the Miami Dolphins. That deal fell apart. The Dolphins missed the playoffs entirely. And now, Campbell ends up in Baltimore anyway, just through free agency instead of a trade. Sometimes the universe finds a way. The Diego Pavia wildcard shifting gears for just a moment, because there is one more storyline worth talking about today that has nothing to do with the Ravens but is genuinely fascinating. Diego Pavia, the young quarterback who turned heads and built serious buzz heading into this offseason, is now reportedly drawing interest from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League. The CFL season kicks off in early June, which means Pavia has roughly a month to figure out his NFL future before that door potentially opens. Now, nobody expects Pavia to walk away from his NFL opportunity without giving it every single shot. Rookie minicamp is right around the corner and the competition for a quarterback roster spot is absolutely real. But the fact that a CFL franchise is actively pursuing him, and potentially offering real money to bring him north, adds a genuinely interesting wrinkle to his story. It has a little bit of a Johnny Manziel energy, honestly. A high-profile quarterback who generates attention everywhere he goes, with a league outside the NFL ready to roll out the red carpet. Whether Pavia ends up sticking in the NFL or takes his talents to Canada, one thing is clear: people want to see this kid play football somewhere. Baltimore is built different in 2026 when you zoom all the way out and look at everything Baltimore has built this offseason. It is hard not to be genuinely excited, even if you are not a Ravens fan. A defensive line that was historically bad just 12 months ago now looks like one of the most talented and experienced units in the entire NFL. Calais Campbell is proof that Father Time can be beaten. He has been beating it for years. And now he is bringing that gift to a Ravens team that is hungry, motivated, and absolutely loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. The only question left is, how far can this team go in 2026? Give this signing a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. Drop it in the comments right now and tell me why. Let's see what Ravens fans really think about this move.